Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button, also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest. And it looks like top ranked head Bob Arum, he recently spoke to my dude KO Artist Sports. Link in the description to his exclusive interview with Bob Arum. And Bob Arum said in this interview that Salido will rematch against Vasyl Lomachenko. Now, this is interesting. He said this summer, he says, like, basically contracts aren't signed, but he has an understanding with that side. And he's going to take a tune-up fight. He's scheduled, if you go to BoxRec, Salido is scheduled for a tune-up May 27th, I think in Mexico. I don't know who it is. It's like a TBA opponent to be announced. So it'll probably be a low-level opposition, which is deserving. Salido has been in there with everybody from Gamboa, Mikey Garcia, Vasyl Lomachenko, Rocky Martinez twice, right? Juan Manuel Marquez, Robert Guerrero. He's been in there with everybody. So he deserves an easy fight, if you will. You know what I mean? Especially if he's going to head into a rematch with Lomachenko, because Lomachenko seems to have gotten better ever since the first fight. He learned something from the loss. And if you rewatch that fight, he nearly stopped Salido in the 12th round. He hurt him, but too little too late. Salido won, I believe, via split decision. So again, check the link in the description. Arum saying there's an understanding that's reached for this rematch. And my opinion on this subject is great. I think every fighter who has a controversial fight or a loss like that, they should always try to get some get back and go back to the drawing board. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you have to, after a loss, you have to immediately rematch them. But like if it was a clean loss, and I think Salido clean, I mean, I don't know if you would say clean. There was some roughhousing and he came in heavy and stuff like that, but he won most rounds, more rounds than Lomachenko. They put Lomachenko in just a hair too soon. That was his second pro fight, and he clearly, see, this is why I knew it was bad. I thought Lomachenko could beat Salido. He definitely has the skill, but this is exactly why you don't rush your talent and why it hasn't been done where someone's capturing the title in like their second fight. It just doesn't make sense, because even though you have 350 Emmys and you have gold medals and whatnot, none of that matters as a pro. You think Salido, you have to really break this down, like put this in your pipe and smoke it, as my mom used to say, right? Really analyze this. You have Orlando Salido, who is a tough, gutsy, cagey, rough, by any means necessary Mexican warrior. And he turned pro just like a lot of the top Mexican fighters, Julio Cesar Chavez, Sr., Canelo. He turned pro at a very young age. Just like Canelo, Salido turned pro at age 15. Salido, in his pro debut, got knocked out. And that just shows you the lack of experience. I think the opponent he fought might have been turning pro also, but the guy was just maybe more prepared or bigger or stronger or older. I don't know. But the point being is he got knocked out his very first pro fight. Meanwhile, Lomachenko has this crazy amateur pedigree with nearly 400 fights with only one loss that he avenged in the amateurs 2 times. He beat the guy 2 times. The guy only beat him once, right? He also holds wins in his amateur career over guys like Felix Verdejo, right? Who's a top name prospect or whatnot with top rank. And Lomachenko looks to be a brilliant fighter. So that's how you know boxing is crazy, and you can't really predict this. You can't really script this. How is a guy who had all the 2 Olympic gold medals, 400 pro fight or amateur fights almost, with only one loss that he later avenged, and he loses to a guy who turned pro at 15, got knocked out a couple of times when he first turned pro, got knocked out in his pro debut, and had to learn on the job. You know what I mean? So there's different ways to achieve a win and a victory. So to me, I think Lomachenko, he needs to put this to rest. I would favor Lomachenko against Salido because he's been looking so phenomenal. He hasn't really even been losing many rounds. But this is exactly why you don't rush your talent. Guys like Shakur Stevenson, I don't even know who they put him in there with on his pro debut last Saturday, but that was the person that they needed to put him in there with. It got kind of rough. It looked like there was like some clash of heads, or, you know what I mean, got kind of rough at the weigh-ins and stuff. That's what he needs. He needs to go through guys like that, build up his confidence, see how it feels with the smaller gloves and this and that and all the rules that are different. They try to make the amateur system closer to the pros, but it'll never be the pros. It's pros is pros is pros, right? And that's what you need to do. So Lomachenko and his team, they got too big for their britches and put him in there with Salido. Salido ain't no punk, you know what I mean? But even though I would favor Lomachenko because he's been looking splendid, I still got to see it because he lost to this guy. So we haven't really seen the exact Salido style. We haven't seen him in there. You could say Jason Sosa, Nicholas Walters, but I don't really think Jason Sosa, it's like semi-close to a Salido, but it's not, because Jason Sosa, I thought the biggest name on his resume he lost to, and that was Nicholas Walters, right? Orlando Salido, he's been in there with everybody from Marquez to Guerrero to Mikey Garcia and everybody I named earlier. So it's still a different type of style fight that he brings. And I hear the commotion. Lomachenko talk about fighting Mikey Garcia, and then the big prize is Terrence Crawford at 140 or whatever he's trying to do. Maybe Terry Flanagan. I think he needs to put this to bed first, right? I just think that would be the best thing for his career. And Salido moved up to 130. You're a champion at 130. If he gets past his tune-up, which he hasn't really been stopped in recent fights against better opposition, like the Gamboas and Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia dropped him a bunch of times, 4 times or whatnot, but he hasn't been stopped since really earlier in his career. So I think Lomachenko should fight Salido next, just to put it to rest, prove that you can beat this style, or see if Salido could repeat what he did in the first fight. Maybe some people just have your number. No matter how many times you fight them, it's always going to be a tough fight, or they always beat you. You can be a great fighter. I look at it like Shane Mosley. Nobody was touching Shane Mosley, really. And for whatever reason, he could not beat Vernon Forrest. And that's why you know triangle theories don't work. Vernon Forrest beat him twice. I believe beat him in the amateurs. And Vernon Forrest lost to a guy that Shane Mosley knocked out in Ricardo Mayorga. You know what I'm saying? You can't, none of this makes sense. Like, you can't, triangle theories don't work in boxing, right? How is it that Shane Mosley was running through all these lightweights and he was just a force and he couldn't beat Vernon Forrest, rest in peace, and he lost to him as an amateur? But then a guy like Ricardo Mayorga, who lost to Shane Mosley and lost a lot of his big fights, De La Hoya, Cotto, lost all these big fights, and that style beat Vernon Forrest. And Mayorga was doing some crazy stuff. So you got to know your boxing, study the game, study the sport. Mayorga was sticking his head out and hitting himself and taunting Vernon Forrest and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it didn't work for Mosley, didn't work for Cotto and De La Hoya and all these other guys. And he was being the same Mayorga. He was saying Oscar De La Hoya likes to play with Barbies and stuff like that. So we got to see. Like I said, I would favor Lomachenko, but I still got to see it, because seeing is believing, and I want to see the advancements and the adjustments and prove that it was just merely because you had turned pro and you were only in your second fight, and beat the style that has on record beaten you, even though, like I said, he almost stopped Salido in the 12th round. So I like this notion. Get in the tune-up fight. I think Salido deserves that. And beyond that, rematch with Lomachenko. But I got to see it, because Arum has said stuff in the past that doesn't always manifest. And I think one of the big hangups is money. I think they're overvaluing Lomachenko. Not saying he's not a worthy fighter, but he's not doing even Golovkin numbers when he's on network TV. And it just seems to be like, because he's so skilled, they're acting like he draws numbers that he doesn't really draw. You know what I'm saying? Like, his last fight with Sosa did good numbers, solid numbers, but I don't even think he's really hit over 1 million views on regular HBO. Again, I take nothing. This is the business. I could call this stuff fair. Lomachenko is a very phenomenal and talented fighter, but I'm not talking about skill set or who he could beat or if he could beat Mikey Garcia. I'm purely talking about the business aspect of it. And to me, I haven't seen any astronomical numbers. And it's just so funny, because in the boxing game, a lot of times people often say things and it can't be substantiated. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. People say like Andre Ward is so boring and no one wants to see him. But if you look at Andre Ward's history, like on HBO, he has multiple million, over a million viewerships, right? Chad Dawson, I believe probably Edwin Rodriguez. This is off the top of my head, but he has a bunch of them. Sullivan Barrera, right? Where they did over 1 million. And they're saying Lomachenko he's going to be a pay-per-view star. And I don't think he really has. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any of his real HBO fights were really pushing over 1 million in terms of their viewership. So that's the only thing that might be a little bit rocky with the Orlando Salido, because Salido wants to get paid. He has the resume to support it, and he holds a win over Lomachenko. So I don't think he's going to do it for short paper. And Nicholas Walters and Lomachenko, they couldn't come to an agreement at first in the summertime because they were trying to give Lomachenko the lion's share, and Walters didn't like his split. And then they starved Walters, gave him no other options, no other fights, had him sidelined. So they offered him less when it came back around, and he probably needed the money. You know what I mean? These paychecks that, unless you're a superstar, you got teams, you got a family, you got mortgage, you got cars, whatever you have, a lifestyle. You can't just live off that. So Walters probably got desperate, like, fuck it, I'll take this amount of money. Even though in the summer I was asking for more. Clearly they're not giving me no fight, and they're not giving me more money, so I'll take this. And then he got embarrassed by Lomachenko. But that's the only hang up I really see is possibly if Salido and his team feels he's being shortchanged and offering something that is not fair, because no matter what, Lomachenko's a good fighter, but he lost to Salido. Any way you slice, you can say he got better. He beat Gary Russell, he beat Nicholas Walters, Sosa, Rocky Martinez. None of that matters, because the guy we're talking about negotiating with is Orlando Salido, and the fact of the matter is Salido beat him. So you got to pay like you weigh. Drop it in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the rematch. I think it's a great idea. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.